This is spring break packet. We're going to continue with number 4. It has a lot of parts, so I'm not sure how many we'll get done. All right, so go ahead and read the problem. We have a ladder, and according to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the ladder should be at an angle such that the distance from the bottom of the ladder to the wall it is leaning against is no more than 1/4 of the length of the ladder. Okay, so first step, remember you're going to be taking this on a computer. So first step is you want to draw a picture. We have our wall and the ladder. So clearly we can see that this is a triangle, and whenever we see triangles in geometry, we're thinking about Pythagorean Theorem and Trigonometry, SOHCAHTOA. So we know that the ladder, let's look at part A. It says a 30-foot ladder, so that we're just going to go ahead and label this 30. And it says it is 1/4 of its length, 1/4 of 30 from the wall. So this distance is 1/4 of 30. Now, if you do not have a calculator, remember that 1/4 of 30 is the same thing as 30 divided by 4. So we can use long division. Think about this. How many times does 4 go into 30? Hopefully you came up with 7. That's 28. We subtract, we get 2. Bring down a 0, and 4 goes into 20 5 times. So it's 7.5. All right, and our question here is, how far up the wall will it reach? So we're looking for how far up the wall is this distance. So for part A, we have a triangle, we have 2 sides, so we're going to use Pythagorean Theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared always the hypotenuse. So we can go ahead and write out our equation. I think this would be in the calculator section since we have a decimal here. So you can go ahead and do 7.5 squared. That gives us 56.25. And 30 is easy because 3 squared is 9. So it's just 900. All right, then we can go ahead and subtract 56.25. And that gives us x squared is equal to 843.75. Yeah, I think this is definitely in the calculator section. All right, so we're going to have to take our square root to solve. So the square root of 843.75, and it rounds to 29. So this will be for our part A. Okay, so just remember, whenever you see a triangle, you have 2 sides and you want a 3rd side, you want to use Pythagorean Theorem. All right, let's take a look at part B. It says, okay, the bottom is 1/4 of its way from the wall. What angle does the ladder make with the ground? So it's the same picture, but in this case, we are looking for this. So you can put theta, or if you want, we can change this and put our x here. We're looking for the angle. So remember, when we're looking for the angle, we are looking for, we want to use SOHCAHTOA. I'm going to put part B over. Part A, part B. Okay, so we're going to use SOHCAHTOA. We're going to use trigonometry. So our first step is to label the sides with either O, A, or H. So 30, this is our hypotenuse. That's H. And 7.5 touches the angle, so that is A. This side is O, but we don't care about it because we could use 29. But if this were the first question, we would not use this side. But absolutely, if you want to use, for example, 29 and 7.5, O and A, you could use tangent. But I'm going to use these two measurements. It doesn't matter which ones you use. Since I'm using A and H, A and H are cosine, so my equation is cosine of x equals A, which is 7.5, over 30. Now remember, when we're looking for the angle, we have to use the second button on our calculator. So we're going to do second cosine 7.5 divided by 30. And that gives us 75.5 degrees. Let's see what the instructions are as far as rounding. It says round your answer to the nearest degree. So when it says nearest degree, that means a whole number. So we do not want a decimal. So 70.5.5 is going to round up to 76 degrees. All right, there's more. There's part C and part D, so let's take a look. It says the bottom of the ladder is 6 feet from the base of the wall it is leaning against. If Sam moves the bottom of the ladder 1 foot farther away, which of the statements is true? Okay, so I'm going to draw another picture for this one. Here's the wall. Here's the ladder. The ladder is still 30, but this is 6. And then what's going to happen is we're going to move the ladder. This time it's going to be 7 feet. And we want to know what's the difference, how far down will it move? Well, we can tell that it's going to move. The top of the ladder has to, right? If it's going to go like that, if it's going to be moving out, the top of the ladder has to move. So it's definitely not D. This makes no sense. The top of the ladder will move up by 1.2 feet. That doesn't make sense at all. If you're moving the ladder out away from the wall, then the ladder clearly will not reach up as high. So that makes no sense whatsoever. So basically we're looking between these two. Now you might guess and say, that looks too simple, and I'm going to guess with A, but let's just prove it. And here we are only dealing with sides. So sides is Pythagorean theorem. All right, so let's find out this x first, then we'll compare it to this x and see what the difference is. How far down will the ladder move? Right, 6 squared is 36, 30 squared is 900. Go ahead and subtract. And now we need to take the square root. Remember, we have to do on this calculator, oops, there we go. And you should get 1. Ooh, okay, so it starts. How is that even possible? I put in what did I put in? How can that be 1? Makes no sense. Okay, let's try this one more time. Yeah, it's important that I show you that because sometimes it doesn't make any sense. Okay, we started at 29.4. We'll just round it to 29.4. Okay, yeah, make sure your answer makes sense in the calculator or you push the wrong button. All right, so we start here at 29.4. And let's see what happens when we move the ladder out. Okay, the length of the ladder does not change, but clearly this is going to have to go down somewhat. All right, so we're going to have x squared plus 7 squared equals 30 squared. 7 squared is 49. This is 900. Go ahead and subtract. You get 851, and now let's take the square root of that. It went down by about 0.2, right? It was 29.4, now it's about 29.2. It went down by about 0.2. So if you guessed A, that was a good guess. The answer is A. Okay, it went down a little bit, but not a whole foot. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at part. Okay, so part D is a similar question. We're going to move the bottom of the ladder 1 foot farther away, so it's going to be 7 feet, and it's asking about the angle. So we can do another really quick diagram, or 2 quick diagrams. If we start with 30 and 6, and then it's going to go down a little bit. We've got 30 and 7. What is the difference between the angles, right? So clearly, when the ladder goes out, the angle will get smaller, right? So let's take a look at our answer choices. It's A says it's going to increase. Again, makes no sense. The angle is going to have to decrease. B and D are possibilities. B and C are possibilities, but D says the angle will not change. That also makes no sense. We know the angle will decrease, and we want to know by how much. Okay, so let's use SOHCAHTOA to find the angles and compare. We can see how far the angle decreased. So again, this is our hypotenuse and our adjacent side. It touches the angle. We're going to use cosine. We'll say cosine of x equals 6 over 30. Oops, there you go. Sorry, this is... Okay, so for the get the angle, we need to use the second button. So this angle x is 78 point... I'm going to put both numbers there. I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth to make it a little more exact. And then this one will be cosine of x equals 7 over 30. Let's check that out. Inverse cosine, 7 divided by 30 is 76.51. So we clearly went down. If you want to know how much we went down by, you can subtract them. 78.46 minus 76.51. That's about 1.95. And the closest one to that would be 2, right? If we round, the difference is 1.95. We can round that up to 2. So the angle decreased by about 2 degrees. Our answer is C. So since this had 4 parts, it was a long question. So you can go ahead on to the next video for number 15 if you need it.